Today we're going to discuss man-to-man defense. In a man-to-man defense, each defensive player is guarding one specific offensive player. We're going to start with defensive positioning, then defensive principles, and finally the basic press and lanes defense. First, defensive positioning for a man-to-man defense. Hands on, hips up, head on a swivel. Always, 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 always. No exceptions. Let's look at each one briefly. Hands on. You want to have your hand on the offensive player at all times. Don't put your hand on top of their shoulder. You're not trying to push them down. You want it on the side of their body, pushing them out further away from the goal. Hands on is critical so that if you look away, you always know where they are. Hips up. We call this the crab position. Your hips are up, and your legs are egg beating tucked in underneath your body. This is similar to a crouch position in basketball. You have to have your hips up so you can move laterally. Head on a swivel. The more aware you are of the entire offense, the better defensive player you're going to be. For beginning players, start by knowing where your man is and where the ball is. So you have your head on a swivel going from your man to the ball the entire possession. After you've mastered that, then you can become aware of the entire offense. Now that we've covered the defensive positioning, let's take a look at some basic defensive principles. In a man-to-man defense, you always guard the offensive player closest to the goal, or the offensive player in the best scoring position. It doesn't matter who is guarding you at the other end of the pool. You need to be aware of any open players closer to the goal. For example, let's take a look at this situation where X4 is guarding O4 at the flat. O5 is unguarded at the wing. In this situation, X4 should drop down to the wing and guard O5 because they have a better scoring opportunity and are closer to the goal. X4 needs to be aware of the entire offense and not have tunnel vision solely on his man. The next principle we'd like to cover is that defense doesn't start when your man catches the ball. You need to be in the proper defensive position at all times, regardless of whether your man has the ball or not. Stair-stepping involves a defender helping a teammate who may have been beaten. In the following stair-stepping situation, O2 has beaten X2 off the drive and is headed towards the goal. In this case, X1 should stair-step and help X2. O2 is a bigger offensive threat than O1, therefore you should help. Now we're going to cover the press and lanes defense. In a press, you stay between your man and the goal with your hands on, hips up, head on a swivel. That means if your man moves, you too need to move to remain in between your man and the goal. Notice here the defensive player moves with the offensive player, remaining in between the player and the goal. This is the correct way to do it. Here, the defensive player waits until his man has the ball, and now is behind the play in terrible defensive position. Now let's look at lanes defense. Lanes refers to a passing lane. A passing lane is an invisible line from the ball to whoever you are passing to. In this figure, the passing lanes are shown from O3, who has the ball, to all of his passing options. All of these are passing lanes. If the ball moves, the passing lanes change. Here, O5 has the ball, and the lanes are different. In lanes defense, you are hands-on, hips up, head on a swivel, just like in a press, and all of the defensive principles apply. The only difference is that instead of staying between your man and the goal as in a press, now you are to put your body in the passing lane. Watch the shift in defense as the ball moves from O5 to O3. In order to make this adjustment, you must know where your man is and where the ball is. Lanes is a ball denial defense. You are trying to prevent your man from getting the ball. Now you have a good handle on man-to-man defenses. Remember, good defense requires consistency and discipline. If you don't practice good defensive habits 100% of the time, they will not be there for you when you need them. So from Shaquatics Water Polo, I'm David Farkas, reminding you that stopping a goal is just as good as scoring one. See you next time.